But every time you try to, you'll be held back. Unforgiveness holds us back.
Yeah.
And as he gave that wonderful illustration, these are some of the things that we wonder, some of the things we go through in life. We find ourselves in. What did you learn? I think we're constantly learning. I'm learning. What did I learn from me? I learned to really trust the Lord.
None of this. Every scenario, he overcame with goodness, he overcame with forgiveness. And what happened? In the pit, he was sold to one of the most highest renowned, owners they were, right? Potiphar's house. He went to Potiphar. What happened in Potiphar's house? He had no resentment, no anger, trust in the Lord. And what happened? He got elevated in Potiphar's house. He was in charge of all Potiphar's possessions. Number 2 in Potiphar's house. And what happened? Then came along, the devil brought forth the Potiphar's wife, tried to sleep with him, and then instead he maintained his composure, he maintained his faith in the Lord, and did not fall into the easier sin of having to go into something, right? You ever notice that when you're angry, you're upset with someone, you're more susceptible to giving into temptation, right? Because being angry is a temptation in itself. You'd rather be angry because it feels good, but that short-term good always resorts into some long-term pain, right? Because it wasn't the good that God intended for you. He wanted you to forgive. That forgiveness, that feeling, even though it's painful, it'll only last for a short time, and for the rest of your life, you basically allow God to bless you. So what happened? He went from Potiphar's house to prison. I just found out in the story that in the prison, he was put in charge of the prison. I mean, how can a prisoner be in charge of the prison? And it makes no sense, right? He was placed in charge of the prison because the favor of God was upon him. And he was able to, navigate certain things that allowed for him to speak to these two prisoners that came to his chambers, right? The guy that was a baker, and the one that was a cupbearer, or the king's cupbearer, right? The one that's always the king. He was able to work with them, and what happened? That set him up 2 years down the line for him to be able to meet the king. And when he met the king, what happened? He was number 2 in the entire country. Egypt was known to be the number 1, was the powerhouse like the United States today. He was number 2. I mean, how do you even get there? You went from nothing to something every single instances because God blessed it. God can't bless you if you are hanging on to unforgiveness. God cannot teach you if you are still stuck in the past. God cannot increase you. That story happened a lot with me when I, having to be in business, you come across a whole bunch of different characters. Not to mention, you also have your competition that you have to deal with every time, and you're always fighting and always try to, outdo them. Or when you see them doing good, you're like, oh, curse. You know what I mean? It's bad. Now, having to look at it this way, like, wait a minute, who am I to say this? Yeah. That person has kids. That person has family. That person's hiring people. He's trying to feed too. Why am I trying to? Why am I trying to be competitive? Why am I trying to be angry? Why am I trying to be, this kind of person that's always, competitive and unforgiveness kind of go hand in hand too. So having to change that mindset, looking at the person instead of your own situation, right? Like, why did that person hurt me? I have no idea what happened to that person. Maybe someone in his family died. Maybe he was beaten up as a kid. Maybe, he doesn't have someone to be able to lead him. Maybe he went through some financial. We don't know what happened to him. God knows. That's why God told us, don't seek revenge because you don't know what these guys are going through. I know what they went through. So what I tell you to do is basically love them. Your enemy comes, they're hungry, feed them. Your enemy is thirsty, give them something to drink. Give them shelter. By doing so, you're allowing God to do his work through you. And by that way, he'll bless you. How does he bless you? First, he gives you peace. I mean, really, a lot of us as men, the best thing is to be able to have some kind of sense of peace. We always call it a peace of mind, right? When we can feel a little bit secure knowing that this is taken care of, it does tremendous for us. We all of a sudden find ourselves doing more than what we could possibly imagine doing. But that's because it started with this little seed of forgiveness. If we don't plant that seed, don't expect anything from the Lord, because every time you get up there, you'll fall right down on your face over and over again. Because unforgiveness is almost like a falling chain that just holds you down. You can't succeed with that in your life. God's is impossible. Yeah, you have to. So, forgiveness.
Unforgiveness is in some areas or in some small places. We've all had experience. So to address the first question, is when did you try to get revenge instead of leading repayment to God? That's a two-pronged question. And then the second prong of the question is, what did you learn? So, if you want to just take a minute, please take a minute, just think about some incident in your life that you have tried to do it on your own rather than trusting the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Any volunteers? Well, no. First volunteer. Anyone want to be bold enough to share something you've gone through? And in light of the question, you try to do it on your own, and then what did you learn? What was your experience?
I'll go ahead and
Go ahead, Mark.
be first. Yeah, I'm just going to talk about an incident that happened a few years back. It was an altercation that happened in a nightclub back before Christ days. It was EBC days.